let's play.
Hey, corner's off, man.
Let's play.
Hey, corner's off, man.
Let's play.
Hey, corner's off, man.
Hello, Frog fans. Welcome back to Postgame Beers podcast. We are the Lupton Drinking Club. We've got, me. I'm Yellow K, kind of one of the co-hosts. We've got our other co-host, Jacob Sailors, at JD Sailors.
What's happening?
Off to a hot start.
Man,
So here's the problem.
we have a bye week and we forget everything.
I'll introduce you, and then I'll go back to the other two. We had an off week, so I'm trying to get back into the thing here. I'm off my game.
Man, wait.
Kamaloy at Yellow K.
I'm over here scrambling. I'm trying to get this Big 12 projection crap updated. When you're in school and when you were in school and you're trying to do your homework last minute before it's due.
And then it turns out better than when you planned ahead of time. So
that ain't going to be it tonight. We got a failed segment alert coming up.
Can't wait till the Big 12 projections, Jacob. You're on the queue.
Failed segment watch.
We've got our producer, Crazy Ray Cartwright, as well as Garrett Evans. Martin could not join us tonight. He is running from the law. More on that later in the podcast. The one thing that I wish Lupton had, and they've got a lot of stuff. The food is pretty good. The drinks, grateful that they have them. That's why we're named Lupton Drinking Club. When they started selling beer, we said, hey, we can do that. We can watch baseball and drink beer at the same time. I wish they had a long drink. And it's our Finnish legend. It's our favorite drink. We appreciate KR. Oh, I don't know if you guys saw this on Instagram. Congrats to that guy.
Yeah.
He got engaged.
Yeah.
Woo! Shout out. Good for him. Thank you, KR, for sponsoring us with Long Drink. We appreciate it. We're going to talk about Hell's Half Acre later, but we are also sponsored by them. So we've got a fun podcast for you tonight because we get to talk about the winning frog ball. Which it's been a couple weeks. It's been a little bit, but we're back and we're, if they're throwing us energy, we're going to throw it right back. Fellas, how are we doing? Actually, here's what I want to start with. Let's not talk about frog ball to start. I want to know your mindset. Jacob, Ray, actually all three of you've got back-to-back, like 10, 14 games straight of Stars and Mavs. Yeah. I don't know how you're doing this and staying alive and actually keeping a job.
Well, let me start off by saying I am very grateful that both of my teams are in the playoffs. But these games, man, they're starting at like freaking midnight every night. It's really a drag. I don't want to complain with my teams in the playoffs, but dude, it's a grind, man. Like, you think it's hard to like win a Stanley Cup. Try being a fan of a team trying to watch a Stanley Cup and hold down a job. Like, that's where the real grind is.
Very much so a grind. So much so I can't watch them. I have to miss 8:30 starts altogether. Well, can't do it.
Ray, we did party at Stan's yesterday for the Mavs comeback that eventually fell short. But,
that was fun.
Dude, have you guys ever been full-on high-fived by Ray?
I have not. I feel like I may need that experience. You guys all out on the court last night. I'm really proud of y'all.
It might have been the Houston series the last time I was full-on high-fived by Ray. I don't know.
It's been a minute. Some point last year.
After a couple of like Kyrie threes in the fourth quarter, we're standing up and LFG, and then Ray gives me a high five that knocks me back into my chair.
Hey, so I want to tell you guys something. I'm not a big NBA fan. This has nothing to do with the Mavs. It's not my thing. But I knew that you guys were watching the game intensely last night. We had planned on possibly podcasting afterwards, and so I said, you know what? I knew they were down 31, but then I found out later they were coming back, and hey, why not throw in the fourth quarter? And I'll tell you what, I really enjoyed it. Outside of the end, the end when the Clippers kind of put it away. Yeah, that was a hell of a basketball game.
Well, we had 11 people at our watch party, and I was just saying there in the second half, I'm like, I'm just glad that I was able to make it to the bar before this game was over. Because I was driving in the first quarter, and I'm like, it's over. What's the point? We should turn around and go home. They were down by 31, MK. And we had 11 people going in this watch party.
Would have been the greatest comeback, right, in postseason history. Was that right?
It would have been, yeah. If they would have won the game, it would have been the largest comeback in postseason history.
Shame. But almost
it's
there.
all good, man. We're better than those jokers out there.
Yeah.
The vibe's pretty,
James Harden.
Vibe's pretty electric out at stands.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't all that full, but our table was bringing the energy for sure. There was a decent crowd in there. But yeah,
I would just like to say, James Harden, still a bitch.
Yeah, for sure. But MK, you brought it up. Ray and I definitely had to call in sick last night for the pot. So
I get it.
You would have had loopy ass Ray.
Sometimes the people want loopy ass Ray.
Could have been one of our highest rated shows.
The
problem, sheets to the wind.
The problem is if that's all we get, there's a problem.
Yeah.
If no one else shows up, is what I'm saying.
No, just let me. Yeah, just let me riff on frog ball. I have thoughts.
We've had some fun pods in the past where it was that after that Sunday game, we rolled in real hot. But yeah, I'm glad we took a day off to refresh, and glad we're back.
Well, we're back. I don't know if we're refreshed.
No, I'm ready. I'm ready to bring it. What do you got for me, MK?
I want to talk about a 3-1 week for the Frogs, which was very exciting. One of the biggest changes we saw, and I'm gonna stay off the field for a second, was some players made a decision to band together and to change their appearance. Anybody got any background on what I'm talking about?
Shaved heads.
Tell me more, Ray.
As far as I know, is they got together and said, "Hey, why not? Let's follow our fearless leader, Luke Boyers, into battle with a shaved head."
For a second, I thought they were calling out
besides Luke.
Silva.
Say again?
Silva is who? I said who all is rocking the shaved head now?
Carson.
Is Carson as well?
Well, he's always had short hair, so I don't know if that counts.
We've got Curtis Byrne.
Hell yeah, boys.
We've got
that one's shocking.
A player to be seen yet. We didn't get the chance to see his change, which I think might be the biggest change of appearance of any of them. Cole Klecker.
That'll be a shocking sight.
Well, we're so used to that, lightning.
He has that beautiful lettuce.
That's what I'm saying. That lightning striking out of his hat every game. I mean, it's going to be weird. We've got Cam in the chat said Peyton Tolley. You're right. I think Peyton Tolley also did the same. I think there were 7 or 8 guys over at the Bowens house decided, hey, let's ruin our chances at a date on Friday and let's shave some heads. So good on them. You know what? I don't know if it works. It's the same type of thing as wearing practice jerseys. But if it does, then let's stay with it and let's have some fun.
Well, all I know is they're winning baseball now. It looks like it's working to me.
They are.
I sense some hesitancy in your voice, Jacob.
We'll get into it.
All right. Hey, we don't want to go into too many details on Tuesday's game against DBU, but it's worth mentioning because I didn't do the research because I'm a bad host, but they swept DBU for the year, which is very exciting. I don't remember the last time that's happened. It feels like they always go 1-1.
Got to go all the way back to last year for that one.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I've totally forgotten anything past
well,
yesterday.
you had the Luis Rodriguez masterpiece in DBU.
And then Carson Bowen hit that home
Carson
run
Bowen grand slam. Yeah.
Well, it always feels like they get us on one of those games, but they actually Frogs had one in Dallas earlier in the year, and they hosted DBU last Tuesday. I wouldn't call it an easy win, but it didn't feel super stressful throughout the entire game. Just a plethora of pitchers throughout the night. Caden Parker, Storm, Zach Morris. The offense wasn't exceptional with 7 hits, but certainly a better output than we've seen in some of the games. I guess some highlights. Bowen had a couple hits. Sam Myers had a triple that he got 2 RBIs on that one. and Curtis went 2 for 3 with a double, had 2 RBIs in the night himself. So I think the very, very fun to watch a bunch of different pitchers, and the Frogs tallied 16 strikeouts against the Patriots. So just kind of felt like their night to, after a tough series at Texas, hey, it was a nice one to have. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, man. With all the negativity, surrounding some of the results since conference play started, I mean, it's pretty nice to beat a quality opponent. It doesn't count in the conference standings, but it's a good conference or confidence builder, say, at least. So I was happy. I wasn't all that dialed into the game. I had flag football that night, but I turned it on around the 7th inning and I was like, okay, I was pleased. That was my takeaway. I was pleased.
It's another resume builder for your postseason.
Yep. Yeah, that's true because, you think about our conference record and we're going to have to lean heavy on that non-conference schedule to get in. So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, these 3 wins against DBU or the way of the conference schedule's been going could be real helpful combined with the hot start we had. So, yeah, I'm with you, Jacob. Happy, pleased. Didn't really read too much into it, but kind of gave you the good vibes going into Kansas State.
So, needing a series win, desperately, we've got Kansas State and then 3 more to go, and the Frogs pretty much have to win and do well in all of them. They hosted the Fighting Pete Hughes starting on Friday night. That was a fun start in the fort, and the Frogs really just took it to them. One of the easiest, most relaxing games that I've been to in quite a while. They demolished the Wildcats 12-0, including a 4-run inning in the 2nd inning and in the 3rd inning. And so by that time you're up 9-0 and you're like, all right, let's have some fun and just enjoy the rest of the night. 17 hits on the mound was also pretty cool. We saw Peyton Tolley go 5 straight, give up 0 runs. And then Andrew Mosiello, who has been hit or miss. He's had a couple tough outings, 2 in a row now that have been very positive, but he went 4 innings, gave up no runs. And then when you have 5 of your starters that are replaced later on in the game, it's a good night. So anyway, just a great night all around to kind of win that Friday night.
So MK, you and I were there and it was just kind of a party, right? Like we have those games where it just feels like it's a party, and we haven't had one of those in a while, and especially on a Friday. So that was a lot of fun. Totally finally got some run support, and the Mavs were on at the same time, and TC's up 12-0. The under had already lost. The under was 11.5, by the way. I put a considerable bet on the under.
We were watching that all night though. You had bet the under for
that was the only entertaining part left in the game, right? As far as from a drama standpoint, was my under gonna hit?
I want to destroy them 11-0, and the Frogs won 12-0.
Dude, I went back and looked at their Friday night run totals over the last 2 months, and it's 6, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I knew Tolley was going to do his thing, and I'm like, this is free money. But Ray, we know all too well there's no such thing in sports betting as free freaking money.
No, there's not. Usually whenever you think you have free money, go the other way.
God, the balls it would have taken to bet the over. Anyway, so once it was 12-0 and the Mavs were on and MK, you had your kids and everything, we were like, you know what? Let's dip out of here. And walking out, I was talking to some other fans who were leaving, and I said, sure is nice to leave a game early when we're winning.
Dude, it's so nice. It's like a complete package of a baseball game. We haven't had one of those hot minute,
man.
Dude.
Especially in conference.
Exactly.
Look up and down the lineup. What starter didn't get a hit? I'm not Chase Brunson, who I think left the game because of injury, which sucks, but other than that, man, you had Sam Myers went 3 for 5. Ryder Robinson went 3 for 4. Logan Maxwell 2 for 2 before he came out of the game. Carson Bowen 2 for 4. Silva in the leadoff spot 1 for 3. Awesome. Jack Arthur came in for Brunson, went 2 for 2.
Dude, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, you sure did. What a night, dude. That combined with the pitching, a complete package of a Friday. I was really, really good about that.
Now it didn't end up playing out this way, but one thing too was with the doubleheader on Saturday, I loved burning up Kansas State pitching.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I wish that would have carried us to a sweep. It didn't end up playing out that way, but at the time, since we're just talking about the Friday game, I was really happy with that. So Frog Bats did their job. Totally did his normal thing. I threw 96 pitches in this one. I don't know. I mean, would this have been a night to kind of give him a little breather? I don't know.
But most yellows.
I think it was. You didn't have to extend them.
So,
yeah.
Do you guys want to guess, besides the lineup doing their thing and totally pitching, what was the most exciting part of this game?
Mr. Andrew Mozziello?
No. Apologies to Andrew, but
oh yeah, he was awesome. It was great to see Andrew succeed. There was a point in the game when Jacob, you were. I mean, anyone would have done this, but you were looking down at your phone. I kind of said, "What is going on right now?" And you kind of looked up, and TJ Bruce is going at it with Pete Hughes on the field.
He lost his shit, and it was awesome.
And this was early. This wasn't like, it's not like
it wasn't 12-0 when
we were running up the score. This was when there was daylight, because I remember,
it was early.
Okay. What's the story, Jacob?
Yeah. So I reached out for coach for comment, and I said, like, if you don't have to comment, like, but he said, all right, I'll read it word for word. Right. So I'm not misquoting. They didn't like that when we were bunting, I was running back to tell runner at second base to steal. It distracted the third baseman. That was the gist of it. Just two competitive people getting after it.
Sounds like a big old bitch.
I never think of competitive whenever I think of Pete Hughes.
Well, it wasn't Pete Hughes, dog. It was like one of their assistants. So I guess it was like their defensive guy, right? I don't really know if that comment makes a lot of sense in that context. Like, he's yelling at the runner to steal, because it was like
he was trying to talk to Luke Boyers at second base, essentially, right? And then
that's what he's saying.
Misinterpreted that as
yelling at the third baseman.
Okay. And trying to interfere with third base, or trying to interfere with what they're doing.
Because all right, so you saying that, it makes me think that the third baseman is trying to get the bunt situation all straightened out. Meanwhile, he's looking down at TJ Bruce is in the third baseman's ear, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. So somebody probably smarted off in the dugout, like, stop talking to my third baseman. And then TJ said, "I'm not talking to your third baseman," that kind of deal. But,
kind of great. Tensions were high over in the K State dugout.
You have two teams on a Friday night fighting to get into the Big 12 tournament.
How much were they down by at that point?
It wasn't much.
It might have been in the second or third inning. So, at that point, you're either talking about 5 or 9. So it might have been a lot, but
no, I think it was about 4-0.
Okay.
That's good. I think it was sometime in the second inning.
Okay.
Definitely set the tone for the team. I think they fed off the energy.
I
enjoyed it. Right? I enjoyed it. I liked watching those guys, do something different. Like, hey, things aren't working, so let's mix it up. If you're getting fired up, we'll get fired up too in the stands. I want to highlight, obviously some roster, some lineup changes throughout the weekend, but they kept the lineup pretty similar Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to talk about that. Guys, I want to highlight now and then kind of continue to talk about throughout the weekend is the bottom 8 and 9 with Ryder Robinson and Peyton Chatinier. So on Friday specifically, Ryder goes 3 for 4. So everybody was hitting, but I mean, that's still a good night for him. And Peyton, even though he only goes 1 for 2, he has 3 walks. So it was good to see him show some of that patience. I feel like he has not exhibited in a lot of at-bats that we've watched this year.
Yeah, he looks comfortable in the 9 hole now. He looks a lot like he did at the start of the year, but I think he maybe just likes that role more. The bottom of the order fits him better. It's shown the patience that he had previously. So, dude, I like having him there. I think it's a great spot. We talked about it before, right? It's the best spot to put another leadoff guy, if you will, down at 9. And if he's going to play better there, then absolutely.
Garrett, I really enjoyed the words that you were speaking into my computer microphone, or I guess my headphones, because I was catching up on the chat and I completely missed MK's question. So I was like, hope somebody else takes this one. So thanks, man. I appreciate you. Good assist.
I'm doing my job.
That's what this time of year is all about, right? We all have to do our jobs. Did you see my tweet for the podcast? I was like, the boys are playing hard, so we will pod hard. Do your part and listen hard.
Damn it.
Anything else on Friday night?
Let me double check the box score. No.
I think it goes back to pitching. You're set up perfect going into a doubleheader, like Jacob had mentioned, burning through Kansas State starters. You didn't have to burn through anyone to get to Saturday.
I mean, if you could identify a perfect night on the mound, that was it.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah, the only thing was maybe this is super nitpicky, but like somebody said in the comments here.
Maybe it's too much for Tully.
Hold on.
That's what he's been averaging, right? He's been averaging right in there.
Sure, yeah, in a 1-0 game.
Yeah, exactly. If you're up 9-0 in the fourth inning, then why not throw somebody else in?
But MK, remember we talked about this too, like because I brought that up, and then I said, well, no, we need to eat innings. Like you're already burning Tully, and you have a doubleheader the next day, so we need him to.
Do y'all ever believe? Do y'all buy into that? Not every pitch is equal, and that he's had to throw over the last couple of weeks. He's had to throw in a lot of high leverage situations, a lot of high stress pitches where you come out and you have an 8-run lead after 3 and you can just low pressure.
Yeah, no, I totally
easier bullets.
Like we should have had Perk on tonight because it's been a while, but he buys into that a lot. So if Perk believes it, I've never pitched, so I don't know.
I think the biggest thing I remember from Perk talking about is like, hey, it's not about throwing 100 or 110 or 120 or doing it multiple weeks in a row. It's that can this last the entire season, or is there a point when it actually is a detriment, to him individually? We saw Dallin Leach for the second time this year. Shout out to what's his nickname? Is it the Colonel or something? I don't know.
Dude, I don't know. Is that right?
He's got a nickname because he's probably 26 at this point.
Well, he ruined his perfect season.
Oh, that's right. Because in his last game, he had that double.
One pitch. Yeah. One pitch.
Oh, he's only hitting 500? Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the rules. One pitch.
Yeah.
All right. So the vibes are good. Heading into game 2 earlier than expected because of the rain that was projected for Sunday. It actually came late Saturday night in the middle of the night, and Sunday was kind of clear, just kind of damp and weird. Anyway, double hitter on Saturday. So we had Luis Rodriguez on the mound, trying to kind of make up for his tough outing at Texas. Unfortunately,
spoiler alert,
did not happen. He only lasted 3 innings. He gave up 3 runs on 5 hits. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot in 3 innings, but being there in person, his command was just not right. It was not the Luis Rodriguez that we know, the good Luis, and from the beginning. So fortunately, the Frogs were, on offense said, "Hey, Luis, you know what? We got you tonight." And they put up a crooked number in the 4th inning, scoring 6 runs. One of the most entertaining innings that I remember since like maybe Florida Gulf Coast. One of those early games when it's like, wow, everything is clicking and everybody's doing their job. The whole order hits. It's just a lot of fun.
Especially when you're hanging, no, in this point I'm going to make, when you're hanging your head because you're already down and your starter's out early. And
I think that was it. Right. Good point. I mean, obviously Friday night was amazing, but it was low stress, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This one we're already down and they come back and they score 6 in the 4th. So it's like,
it's kind of yay.
It's something
right?
It's something that like maybe that the beaten Frog fan in us didn't. I mean, we wouldn't expect to come back there. Like, oh man, I don't know how the bats have been this year. We dug ourselves a hole.
And it was looking all too familiar.
Exactly. So, it's like, well, I've seen this song and dance before.
Yeah, no, I know we're pretty much. I know we're pretty much ignoring Texas, but Lewis had a really rough start against Texas, and the offense didn't pick him up. On this game, it was nice to see the bats kind of climb out of the hole for once and, support the pitching when the pitching isn't winning you the game. If the pitching has a kind of a letdown day, let your bats come through for you. Now, against Texas, I don't know if Lewis even having a good start wins the game the way we were hitting in that second game against Texas. But, dude, Luis Rodriguez struggling down the stretch is extremely detrimental to the playoff chance or to the postseason chances. Like, he's got to get back on track now. Like, you can't rely on, a 6-run inning to bail him out. He's going to have to do his part.
Ray, what you got?
Deer in the headlights. Sorry, I was reading. So what were we talking about?
Okay. I got something else.
There's more to talk about this game. So here, there are two things that stuck out to me on Saturday, or the first game on Saturday. Gosh, it's terrible when you have a doubleheader. Shut down relievers, number one, and then two, outfield defense. And I'm gonna mention a couple specific situations if you guys remember them. So the first one, it's in the 5th inning, and Braden Sloan comes in. He was struggling at that point, so they bring in Zach Coyer. Zach comes in, throws a ball in the dirt to the backstop. Carson Bowen calmly grabs it and throws it behind his back. Zach grabs it, tags the guy out at home plate. There was a review. They actually called it safe. They overturned it, called him out. That was a huge energy boost for the stadium. The next pitch, strike 3, end of the inning. I mean, that was massive, just from a vibe standpoint in the stadium. Next situation, 6th inning, bases were loaded. There were 2 outs, and there was a line drive to dead center. It was very low, and Sam freaking Myers runs up and dives and ends the inning with an awesome, diving play. I mean, that catch alone saved 2 runs. Right, assuming that at least 2 runs, if not more than that. Had he lost it, they could have, and that could have been inside the park home run. And then lastly, I got to shout out Luke Boyers. I mean, the dude was he was a heart attack watching him in person. Multiple plays where you're like, what's Luke doing out there? He's going the wrong direction. It makes 2 massive catches in right field, both of them to end the inning. The second one ended the game. So anyway. Those things stuck out to me. The guys coming in at the right time to kind of end stuff, on the mound, and then just the defense really picking those pitchers up.
Dude, especially with how the wind was probably blowing Saturday, because we had that huge front blowing through. The wind was nutty on Saturday, so I was surprised to see some of those plays being made in the outfield because we couldn't tell what way the ball was going to go with how hard it was blowing.
All right, so first thing. My takeaway from that Saturday game is Kansas State is a ridiculous baseball team. They hit okay. They have a few guys that can hit the ball. But where's their pitching? And does anybody on the team have the ability to throw the baseball and catch the baseball? Because that was abysmal, what they put out there on defense on Saturday.
Is Culpepper not the greatest shortstop in Big 12 history?
I mean, I think out of everybody, he probably had one of the better games on defense.
They were talking about him being a first-round draft pick. Is that accurate?
Potentially.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I will say K-State was also without Tyson Neighbors. I think he's banged up again.
He pitched on Sunday. He pitched in game 2.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Well, I was watching 8U women's hockey.
Okay.
By game 2.
Carson Bowen had an outstanding defensive game. And it was really weird watching Carson's day because he struck out twice, grounded into a double play, and thankfully he beat out a ground ball to score a run to keep that big inning going. But it's so weird to see a player have such a struggle at the plate, but then be so amazing on defense. That play he made on the ball in the dirt, MK, awesome. So
that's part of his philosophy, his personal philosophy. He's like, if I left my bat at home, I better leave my glove. You know what I'm saying? Like he kind of understands I may be struggling in one area, but I've got to pick it up for the team in the other one.
Dude, and he did. So huge credit because, man, those defensive plays were huge. I think he had like a pickoff early in the game when K-State had a big inning brewing and he threw behind a runner on a bunt attempt. Awesome.
MK, I think that mantra is kind of frog wide, like this whole team wide. They've still played really good defense this year, even when the bats have been struggling. Like you think Silva at shortstop, he hasn't had the season that he's wanted to have offensively, but still brings it every day at short. Chatinier at third has been amazing this year, even though the bat has been up and down. And same with Luke Boyers.
Pretty awesome to see him make that move from second to third, yet look like a veteran out there.
He looks way better, way more comfortable.
Yeah.
At third, and that's a position. Second is a position he's played his entire college career.
And then speaking of Peyton, talked about his bat on Friday, which a bunch of walks, but that's still good for the team. On Saturday in that first game, he goes 2 for 4 with another walk. I mean, actually contributing in that 9 hole is massive.
He's flipping the lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. He looks comfortable at the plate. He looks comfortable on third. Like we talked about earlier, dude. He looks like he just settled down. He's being himself again.
Question. I know it kind of goes into like big picture things, but screw it. Is Luke Boyers the best player on the team right now?
Okay. Before we answer this, driving with my daughter Kate, podcast guest in the recent history. We were listening to a game. I think this might have been last weekend or something. And she said, Daddy, who's the best player on TCU? And I was like, wow, that is a great question and worth debating. And if you took this team at the beginning of the season, I think a lot of us would have a very clear answer of maybe 1 or 2 guys.
Dude, she was born to be a podcast host.
Peyton Tolley. I would just shut it down.
You think so?
Before the season?
Yes.
Right, Anthony Silva.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Silva too. Yeah.
Between those two,
Carson Bowen.
Yeah. The point is, it wouldn't have been Mookie B. The only game would have gone there.
Now, Ray, you have a great argument for Tolley, but that's when we were debating on if he was going to hit 30 homers or not.
Yeah. Now is he going to get 300 strikeouts this year?
Exactly.
And that's what I said. That's what I said. Dumb question, sweetheart. It's Peyton Tolley. No, I'm kidding.
Dude.
No, but it's worth a discussion, right? Because
I'm not prepared to make the argument. I'm just throwing it out there for you guys.
Maybe we do this next week where we each pick a different guy and try to make an argument.
It's a good idea. I like that.
Sam Myers?
Sam has been great.
Yeah, but we got to be careful and not be like, no, your dude is trash. My God.
No, this is why you're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm right.
Yeah, it's like an arbitration hearing. Here's why this player doesn't deserve this much money.
You're only $200K off.
Let me talk about their NIL real quick and why they're not worth it. No, it's a fun discussion because
let's table that.
Maybe that's good or bad, right? Maybe we should have an idea of who the best player is, but at the same time, now we have a few guys that we weren't expecting step up in roles.
Dude, all right, like when a ball hits right field, I'm like,
it's
Luke's got it.
Like, he's gonna suck it in over there every single time, dude. It's incredible. So all the snaps for Luke.
Now, granted, everybody's playing really good defense, but who's hitting better right now than? I mean, I know Logan's still having a great season, but Luke's doing it with power.
Dude, that home run on Saturday,
into the
so
wind.
incredible, straight into the teeth of that wind.
Yeah. Crushed. All right, let's get the bad news out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's stop having fun.
Let's
start talking about a loss.
Frogs 3-0 on the week, hoping for a 4-game sweep. Second game of the doubleheader, but unfortunately, Kansas State came out firing pretty quickly. They had a home run on the third pitch of the game, and that was kind of one of those moments where I stayed through the intermission into that first inning, and I was like, "Oh gosh, like, am I going to be here the rest of the game?" It might be a long one. I think the challenge or the frustrating part was Caden Parker, we've really been looking forward to him maybe starting a game, having that opportunity on a weekend, and just really struggling from the beginning. After that home run, then he proceeded to, he only gave up 2 runs in his very short outing, but he looked rattled. Like it was not that his pitches were off and he was throwing balls. Visibly, like you could see his face. He was rattled in that moment and really never recovered. So TCU did not score until the 5th inning, and by that time it was already 6-0 Kansas State. So they were already in a pretty big deficit. Frogs dropped that last game 6-3, and after Parker, we had Ben Hampton, who has been a starter for a little bit, but he left in kind of a weird dizzy spell. Kind of maybe he was dehydrated, unsure about that. We saw Mason Bixby didn't have a lot of success. Zach Morris and then Hunter Hodges. It was just kind of a plethora of guys that
Zach Morris was awesome.
Yeah, dude, Zach Morris was
Morris looked
fantastic.
It reminded me of Bixby's outing in Cincinnati when we were already down by a ton, and Bixby goes 5 2/3 and gives up 0 runs. It's like, all right, well, that would have been nice to start with. It's like we picked the wrong guy to start Sunday. And
Morris went 3 2/3 and had 6 Ks.
Yeah. So if you take the names out of it and what our preconceived idea is of a guy like Caden Parker, like, okay, it's Caden Parker, he should do this, and that's very valid. But if you're playing a 3rd game, 2nd in one day, and you only give up 6 runs, where the hell are the bats? Like, we just spent 45 minutes praising them. You can't show up for the 2nd game of a doubleheader in a potential sweep situation, a sweep you really need. Now, to that, I'm looking at Owen, I don't even know how to say his last name, Owen Borema,
the pitcher,
and Tyson Neighbors, and I'm like, aren't those their 2 best pitchers?
Is
at least
Borema
going into
the
this
best
season.
pitcher? Pitched on Sunday, is he?
Now, I'm looking at Owen Borema now. He hasn't had that good of a season, but I feel like going into it, he was one of the more highly touted pitchers on that staff.
Tyson Neighbors obviously is as well.
Yeah, we all know about Tyson Neighbors.
Yeah, but no, I think you're right about Owen. He was one of the more mentioned dudes.
So even if Owen, like, this is where I'm going to cut the bats a little bit of slack, is even if Owen hasn't had like his best season on any given day, you see what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
But still, man, it's really disappointing to not go get that sweep when you've already handled them for 2 straight games.
I have a question. Does TCU,
this is where you ask them. Go.
Does
ask.
TCU sweep Kansas State if that game's not a doubleheader and they play it on Sunday?
I mean, is Owen Borema going to suck on Sunday versus Saturday? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
what is there? Did you have an answer for yourself, Ray? Did you have something you wanted to?
I kind of think they do.
Why?
I mean, I don't think they lost because they ran out of pitching. They lost because they couldn't hit K-State's Game 3 pitching. I mean, 6 runs should not be like, well, pack it up, boys.
Yeah, the Borema guy, I don't know if you guys could see this on TV. His release or his windup, he held the ball in kind of a strange way behind his back, and sitting behind home plate and watching it. I'm not giving the Frog offense any excuses. They don't deserve any. I'm just saying it was the weirdest hold of a ball before he threw it. And I knew that it looked strange to the guys because they looked off, right? Second thing, which means absolutely nothing, had no effect on the game whatsoever. Kansas State didn't change uniforms, and the Frogs went to their Ranas Cornudas, their brand new, clean uniforms for the game. I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm like, didn't K-State bring their 3rd uniform? Why wouldn't they throw on a purple shirt or something? I don't know if that was maybe Kansas State saying, hey, we're in practice jerseys. You're not changing, idiots, So just a few observations, from the game, but they didn't look comfortable from the beginning.
Yeah, man. That's tough, dude. You really it sucks. It really sucks that we're ending our recap with disappointment because if it was a normal season and TCU was, 2nd, 3rd, 4th in the conference. Okay, they got the series win. They beat DBU. That's a great week. but they put themselves in a position where winning 2 out of 3 just isn't good enough.
Yeah.
You needed that sweep.
Did you guys have any regrets about not having David Bishop on your team this weekend?
I was very
No.
happy to see him come to
No,
the plate
poor-
with two guys
Oh,
on,
David
one out,
Bishop.
and K-State will bring up David Bishop. And I'm
Cool.
like, hell yeah, 2 down.
Oh, he's just listening to the podcast, seeing, hey,
Dude,
maybe
I don't.
they're gonna
He's
give
not
me
on
a
our
shout
team
out.
anymore. He's not on our team anymore.
He's not listening to this podcast. Come on.
He was
He's
an
like,
automatic out.
Give me a shout out for coming back to Lupton. He's just sitting there catching.
Here's what I will say. Let's end this segment on a positive. No, listening to all the feedback, from the stands to David, none of it was very derogatory. None of it. It was like actually a couple of welcome backs. So hey, we gave him a nice welcome home. Whatever.
And he's also on the other team. Like,
Yeah.
so he didn't play in the first game. Is that right?
He did not play in the first game. He played in the
Okay.
second, and then he came in the third game, I think.
So a nice 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts, and a lot of those with guys on.
Hell yeah.
I asked my
Still
son.
doing
I
a
said,
solid for the Frogs. He
That's
just loves the Frogs that
Sure.
much.
That's what
Shout
it
out
is.
David Bishop.
Thank you, David.
I asked my son. I said, "Hey, do you remember David Bishop?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I remember Bishop." And he goes, "Bish." And I said, "That's right. We used to call him Bish." And I said, "Well, sometimes when you leave a team, sometimes it's your choice because you want to get better, and sometimes it's not your choice because you don't have an option." So
Yeah.
I let him make that the own decision on that one. All right. So let's move into kind of the next step of what we hope for the Frogs over the next 3 weekends or 4
Yep.
weekends, not including New Mexico State. But I want to shout out the downfall, which is at Watch the Slide. He shot us a post on X and said this.
Stop calling it X.
Twitter. What record do we need over the next 2 series to make the Big 12 tournament? I responded pretty quickly. I wasn't really thinking. I just said, "Hey, I'm pretty sure I have an answer to this." In my mind, I'm thinking 12 teams make the Big 12 tournament out of 14. That is incorrect. Well, there's only 13 Big 12 baseball teams,
Yeah.
and only 10 make the tournament. So I was a little bit off. And I said, "Hey, if we go 2 for 4 or 3 and 3, 2 and 4 or 3 and 3, so 500 over the next 2 series, against Baylor and West Virginia, I thought that would be enough to keep us in the top of that round."
Okay.
He questioned that, which very valid because, again, I answered it incorrectly. But we probably need at least 4 games. So either 2 series wins or a sweep and, picking up 1 or 2 games of the next series. Jacob, I don't know how much research you've done in the last 35 minutes,
Yeah.
but it's your
Right.
turn, brother.
All right. So what's a safe assumption for TC finishing 15 and 15? Are we going to go with that?
So they're 10 and 14 right now. That would mean
Yeah,
they
so
would need to go 5 and 1 over the next 2 series. That's tough. It's tough.
All right. So let's be conservative and say 14 and 16, which
I think that's more reasonable, even though
Okay.
we hope for more. Yeah.
so let's go with that. All right. So let's identify the teams who are safely in. Oklahoma 15 and 6. I'm not going to read everybody's records. Just trust me on this one. Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Texas, Kansas. Okay. Now let's identify those who are a lock to miss the Big 12 tournament. Houston at 6 and 15, BYU 6 and 18. Do we agree?
So those guys are out. There's nothing they can do to basically make the Big 12
Well,
tournament.
let's look at it. So Houston, who does Houston have? Houston has Oklahoma State and UCF. They're out.
They're out.
Okay. BYU 6 and 18. They have Kansas State and Cincinnati.
They'd have to basically sweep, I think, to have a chance.
And even that, would that be good enough?
Even then,
They
it's
already have
probably
18
not enough.
losses.
That's
Okay.
not enough.
So now you're looking at TCU currently sitting at 10 and 14. They hold down the 3rd relegation spot. Now, I identified the ones that I believe are safely in. So let me read those in the middle here. Because right now, TCU at 10 and 14, they're kind of safely out of the Big 12 tournament. But,
Yeah.
we're saying that they're going to go, 4 and 2? Okay. So let's see if that's good enough. Cincinnati 11 and 10, Tech 12 and 12, Kansas State 12 and 11. Sorry, my VPN thing just popped up. What was that? Kansas State 10 and 11, UCF 9 and 12, Baylor 9 and 12. So let's just look at Baylor and UCF and say it's most likely, if we're going to get a spot in the Big 12 tournament, that's who we're going to have to catch, right? So Baylor obviously has TCU. So winning 2 out of 3 against sweeping them, I think sweeping them probably locks you into that last spot and knocks Baylor out of the tournament. Would we agree?
Yeah,
I agree.
Because that puts Baylor at 9 and 15 and TCU at 13 and 14. So going into the last weekend, you would have the edge over them. So Baylor would need to win 2 out of 3 against.
I want to say they play Oklahoma for one of the series.
Oklahoma, thank you. Yes, that's correct. So probably not going to happen, right?
Correct.
Shoot, even 2 out of I'm thinking now 2 out of 3 might be good enough. Because Baylor, they would finish at 11 and 19. Do I have that right? No, 11 and gosh, help me out here.
It would be 11 and 19. They play 30 conference games.
Okay, yeah, right. How's that work? 7 losses. They would have it'd be.
They play
I'm
West
so
Virginia.
confused.
No, they already play West Virginia. They got swept.
They have 9 games left. That's why.
They do.
So,
yeah.
Okay, that's sorry.
You know what? They play UCF the last series.
UC. That's right.
I bet that's the one for the last spot in the Big 12.
So they go TCU, OU, UCF.
Yeah, and if TCU takes care of business against Baylor, then you're looking at Baylor and UCF playing for that last spot in the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah.
Well,
if we take care of business though, and we sweep Baylor, we should.
So you're saying we pass both of them?
We should be good at that point.
Dude, the thing is, man, there's so many upsets, like so many unpredictable things that happen in this conference. Like Tech just got freaking swept by. They sweep West Virginia and then they get swept by Kansas.
Texas just won a series against Oklahoma in Norman.
All right, so
Thanks to weather, they had to call the weather machine to.
So what do we think?
Fix the game.
What do we think Baylor's final record is going to be? Home against TCU. I don't know if it's home or road, but against OU and UCF.
Say they lose 2 of those. Okay, so they're 10 and 14.
Okay.
Let's say they play Oklahoma. They play in Oklahoma, so minimum
sweep
2 or 3, right?
Let's say 2 or 3.
So we're talking 11 and 16.
Right.
And then they host UCF. So even if they win 2 of those, you're talking about 13 and 17.
13 and 17. Yeah.
I don't think that's good enough.
No, especially if TCU gets. So that means TCU would have to win 1 against West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
If
they sweep Baylor. Yeah.
Did we lose Garrett?
Uh-oh.
So let's talk about UCF then. So UCF has.
Sorry, Garrett, we lost you for a second.
Yeah, Garrett, did you have something?
I think I got bad signal. So is it take 2 against Baylor and 1 against West Virginia, or is it we just sweep Baylor and 1 against West Virginia?
If you win 4 games over the next 2 series, I think you're set. I think you're safe.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
We're talking Big 12 tournament.
But we would need help.
Yeah. I'm trying.
We would need help from OU, mainly from OU. So UCF has
Houston?
Texas, Baylor, and Houston.
Yeah, Houston, Texas, Baylor to finish. Yeah, Houston. They're they're hosting.
So we're
Texas.
saying they
That's
win 2 out of 3 against Baylor, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that puts them at 11 and 12. So let's say they lose 2 out of 3 against Texas. Well, that's
12 and 14. And then they're at Houston.
Sorry, they would be 12. So, okay. Let me back up. Let's make this more confusing. Lose 2 out of 3 against Baylor. That is. Are we saying? Oh God! I told y'all it's a failed segment.
Let's go in order.
All right.
They're at Houston first.
Okay.
Okay. So
win the series.
2 out of 3.
11 and 13.
Or maybe sweep. All right. They host Texas after that.
12 and 15.
And then they are at Baylor. So they're 14 and
no,
15, maybe.
They lose that series.
You think they lose it?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
man,
I think as long as
15.
TCU wins the next 2 series, let's just say they're pretty safe.
For the Big 12.
For sure. If you win the next 2 series.
You would need both UCF and Baylor to beat Texas and OU is what you're looking at.
Next question. Does TCU make the postseason with a Big 12 record under 500 at 14 and 16?
As long as they don't go 2 in Q, I think they can sneak a 3 seed. In the Big 12 tournament. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, College Station.
And you can thank your non-conference record for that one.
Absolutely.
Heard a rumor that don't know if it's true. Might be looking at some, midweek scheduling against some teams like Texas, A&M, University of Texas, Oklahoma, for future years since they're out of conference. It might be kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm all for. They
Absolutely.
should be playing A&M.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to look up where they sit RPI wise.
Did y'all know that this weekend TCU surpassed? They now have more Big 12 wins than they do Pac-12 wins.
Finally.
God, that's pretty bad.
That is a wild
This was
stat.
also the first time Kansas State's ever won a game at Lupton. I think they're officially 1-14. I think I saw. That's kind of neat.
TCU sits 38th in RPI.
Oh, they're safe.
I don't think that's safe, man.
Lock them up.
Pretty bubbly.
Ray's locking them up.
Because you're going to have a losing conference record on your resume. So they'll need to do some work in the Big 12 tournament. Now,
All right.
Once you get there, you have Tully. Tully can beat anybody. So even if we're playing, Oklahoma State or Oklahoma in that first game,
they can pick one off. I think they can do that.
Exactly.
Hopefully
we'll
we
worry
answered
about
your
that
question. The downfall, as well as Bella kind of asked a similar question on the Discord about the different postseason scenarios. So hopefully people who are still paying attention, they got everything they wanted out of that. Thanks, Jackson. Appreciate you being here still. What else before we head out? Frogs go 3-1 on the week. There's no Tuesday game this week. They head to Baylor next weekend. Final thoughts. Raymond, where you at?
I just want to shout out, we mentioned them earlier, Ryder Robinson and Peyton Chatinier. Ryder 5 of 10 this weekend with 2 walks. Chat went 5 of 8 this weekend with 5 walks. Let's go.
Yeah, he was really good.
Garrett.
I think Mosiel deserves secondary shout out. What an awesome weekend for him. That was super exciting. Also, Lukey Boyers, maybe we break his home run record for a full season this year. He's on pace to do it. So why the heck not? And let's go sweet Baylor, boys.
Yep.
Jacob.
Apologies for the confusion on the conference crap, but I will have a clear picture next week when there's only one series left for TCU. We'll have a very good idea if they're going to make the Big 12 tournament or not. But right now, just to put a bow on that, I think they're in decent shape as long as they play decent baseball.
Sitting at 26 and 16, they are 10 and 14 in conference. Take care of business these last 2 series, and we should be
Hot,
okay.
Cold, hot.
That's right. Time to get hot, boys. Time to get hot. Time to shave
get
our
hotter.
heads.
Like 2 out of 3 isn't good enough. It's not good enough.
I have decided to side with the team and shave my head as well.
Okay.
That is, that's a new thing. Have never done that before, and I felt strongly enough about it that I'm on board. So
I went half shaved.
Hopefully, you three will do the same and join me.
We'll see about that. If the okay, I'll tell you what. If the Stars get past the Golden Knights, we can talk.
All right.
I hate the Golden Knights.
Hey, go Stars! Appreciate you guys being here tonight on the live stream. Thanks for listening this far. We got the Frogs going to Waco next weekend. As always, go Stars, go Frogs!
Go Stars, go Frogs.
Frogs.
Go Mavs, go Stars, go Frogs.
There you go.
Good night.
Man, do y'all know what Ray did last night?
I
tell y'all
you
this?
texted me. I can't